Guess who's back again? Where's your chair?
I like how you acknowledge it as my chair.
Well, I mean, no one else is there. Guess who's back again? Here to stay. Rose.
I don't want to sit there. Yes, I'll sit there. I have a chance to do my coat.
What are the odds I like?
What are the odds I do my lab homework for class today?
1 to 3.
1, 2, 3, 2. Yeah, that's gotta be there.
Sorry, Raj. What are the odds you have sex with a hamster?
1, 100.
3, 2, 1, 70. Oh, damn it. That was so close. I was like, yeah. Raj on a hamster. I'd chip it harder than I chip Raj on the dog. Hello.
Nice shirt, Brothers.
Damn.
Just tuck it in before you leave.
Sounds good.
You know I don't care when you're in the booth, so. We're going south first today.
Beef tacos. So.
Does it matter who goes second?
Who do you want to say?
It does not matter, north or center.
North.
North who goes second? So center last.
Yes. No one likes when center goes first.
No, I
Center,
have
okay.
Except center.
Center's not going first, it's not their turn.
Right.
Remember, the only thing I guarantee is that when we dismiss by section, the section goes first. Once Mackay does his thing, will be interpretation. After that, when he messes up, despite how it's laid out, because he went center. I laid it out in order. We read left to right.
Oh my god.
Tom Murphy.
People don't understand. Are those yours?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take one.
No, this isn't for you. Which one should I choose?
I don't know. You gotta pay the toll if you want to figure out which one I would choose.
You should mix them in their
Mr. Flint, that's not how babies work. If I mix a white person with a black person, it doesn't equal tan.
No, but you can do
Wow,
it.
Raj.
Can I get that on video? Snapchat story.
That, like, you know that line where what's said in the stays in?
Does that pass that line?
It's so close to the line I can't tell what side it's on.
I mean, you're also not. I mean, Jewish and Catholic, what's that mean?
It makes it Hindu, depending whatever
It's
they,
Hindu.
whatever religion that kid wants to be. That's what it makes.
Makes a Pastafarian.
Sure, it can also make you Catholic. It can also make you a Jew.
Trying to get my phone.
It makes whatever that kid wants to be, assuming the parents are open-minded. But I'm assuming they're going to be so much open-minded that they're very impressive.
Aren't those meant to like energy stuff?
Yes. I'm tired.
You're just bobbing them?
I was gonna eat them before
Do you have a
practice.
problem?
I do have a problem. I have a problem that I didn't get enough sleep last night or the night
I
before.
think we're on all day now, so
Shut up, Tom. You go to bed at 10 o'clock.
yeah, I wake up at like 5.
There's 7 hours.
I'm gonna give you the drugs and that.
No.
I'm saying I'm gonna like that.
I
What
always
happened to
wonder-
the rolling chair?
I
It's
just
being
want-
used for the set.
What's
Might
that?
be a middle school play.
I just want to roll. Whatever. I already got some design school up there. I just want ice on my wrist, so I better go and dance. Looking at it, put you in the trance. Yeah. Whatever. I already got some design school up there. I just want some ice on my wrist, so I better go and dance. Looking at it, put you in the trance. Now I'm cooler than the sun. Ice on. I hope you all be night. Oh, yeah.
My bag.
TikTok and just
Where'd the chair go?
On stage.
Why?
We needed an office chair for the middle school set.
Who's doing the middle school testing?
No one.
I don't know. It's literally lights up for the scene, lights down at the end of the scene. There's no special lighting effects.
We need like one
Stop it,
person from the
dog.
No dogs.
Yeah.
You and Tom are really the same person. Also, your middle school's really similar. It's just
No, it doesn't.
No,
It
Maggie.
really doesn't.
Maggie's going for a headshot.
it's like little smile. It's just like this.
It just, no.
Five
Just doesn't.
scenes, the entire show.
Sit next to
Both interior.
you.
Lights up.
Tom, which NOE is it?
Location two.
Hey.
Scene change. Location one.
Alright, Tom, for me to take this
Are you
space.
doing it on your phones?
Are you
I'll
not
take the NLE on this phone.
I'm taking the NLE.
On this phone. Hey, what are you doing?
He's taking a practice. Actual memories.
Yes, Mr.
Mr.
Flick.
Flint, no, this is a Glenn.
Yes, I should take that.
Wait, you took Latin? Sir Flick, can you teach me Latin?
No.
I don't know Latin. I know actually 0 Latin.
That's true.
I'm so happy I got a 7 on that test.
What is that? I just see what
Is Rod calling the Latin tutor?
I do know Latin. Do you know any?
Yes.
No.
The Latin teacher voice Latin.
Mr. Floyd, can I come over to your house?
Literally been in my house. And it didn't help.
Does that have caffeine in it?
I hope so.
Alright, shut up and sit down.
No caffeine? How am I supposed to get energy?
How much sugar is in there?
Bullshit. It's just 25 grams of sugar, and they're calling it energy.
So, Ryan, you realize in about 2 hours you're
No, in 6
Ryan, how many of those do you have?
Two.
You realize in about 2 to 3 hours you're actually going to crash?
Yeah,
But
but
like 24 grams of sugar, that's it. That's like nothing. That's like eating a piece of bread.
No. It's not how it
It's
works.
basically you're just
Yes, it
having
is. If you get a piece of bread, it's sugar.
very sugary.
I'm aware they're sugar, but not
Bread
45
bread is basically sugar. That's the only thing it is.
And you got like butter.
Okay, but we didn't say butter
Like-
on the bread, Tom, did we? Butter is fat.
You're bad. Damn. Just got roasted by Rodney.
Yeah, but Mr. Fun, I'm just gonna have 6 more of these before practice.
It's 24 grams of sugar and a piece of toast.
Shut up.
Okay? Stop being fooled by
Okay, I'm looking at the nutrition facts of slice of white bread. Okay. Why? Any slice of white bread, there's 1.5 grams of sugar.
Who is it?
Well, it's carbs. Carbs.
Carbs is sugar. No. Sugar is not carbs. Carbs is
Sugar is a subset of carbs. There are 15 grams of carbs in a 30 gram slice of bread.
Why did you really watch yourself?
Of course I did. Why would I not? Why would I
I
not
would play
say
it. I can't listen to music.
There you go, Wyatt. So you don't have to pay attention.
Leave your locker room so we can make space for the winter athletes. Okay, so they are in season. So please do that as quickly as you can. Thanks.
Sophomores, we got an email from me. We're going to be meeting in smaller groups tomorrow to form. You'll be accepted to run this and
Mr. Flair, are you going on the street?
Football team, congratulations.
Do you know when you leave?
I'm assuming it's from the email notifications.
Probably.
You leave at 3 o'clock. Wyatt.
That sucks. The seniors who do senior treatment.
Wait, you're not going?
No, they're going. They're going to miss a tiny part of Friday. I doubt that.
No,
I talked to my dad. They're going to every practice.
I highly doubt that it's in front. And I can come back every day.
They're gonna live in a special bunker.
I know they're living in their own bunk. I know that.
They would probably, I think what you're saying is they're coming back in time for practice on Friday.
Maybe. I thought.
That's probably what it is.
They might, I could also see them coming late on Wednesday, going to Wednesday practice.
In person.
we're getting closer to Thanksgiving. Please start thinking about those who are less fortunate than you. Bring in a canned good, please. Just one can really help out.
Can we get a GTV hype video of it? I can't.
Right? Right? Can you inspire people with your GTV capabilities?
Are they going to be streaming the championship game right now? I'm assuming not. The championship game on Sunday. Well, they didn't do the semis. They didn't do the semis.
Where's Talbot Baggins? Where's Talbot Baggins?
I don't know Sam Myself.
Sam Weiss.
That's pretty good.
That would make you two very impaired.
I consider myself more of an Eric.
No, you have to be one of the 4 hobbits.
There's 4 hobbits?
You can be the female one.
There are 4 men.
There's 4 hobbits? I thought there was like one hobbit. Like one main hobbit.
That's all in English.
All main hobbits?
Well, you call them Talbot, so that we won't play on Bilbo.
Yeah.
But you could be Frodo. That would make you Talbot's like nephew.
He's Let's have a day if you want.
And we like to take the opportunity every year to kind of educate you guys about what people in the military do and what their service means, and what it means when you say to a veteran on Veterans Day or around that time of year, thank you for your service. So I asked Commander Jeffy, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what he did and what he's done in his career, to come and speak to you about what it means to him, what Veterans Day means to him, what his service means. Just so you know, Commander, and a lot of you don't know, maybe you don't know military rank, Commander.
Quiet in the hallway.
Navy is what Commander Jeffy is the equivalent of Lieutenant Colonel in the Army or Marine. So, Commander John Jeffy was born and raised in Baltimore. He's the great nephew of two officers who served in the Navy during World War II. He was sworn as a naval officer on June 1, 1999. He began his naval career as an ensign and first served as a supply officer at the Washington Navy Yard. Having been a television news reporter for 5 years prior to joining the Navy, Commander Jeffy applied for and received a change of designated to U.S. Navy Public Affairs, which is the equivalent of kind of a marketing guy. I think he would tell you that he gets to talk to people about the cool things the Navy does, he just can't do that. As a public affairs officer, or PAO, Commander Jeffy has landed on an aircraft carrier representing the United States Navy joint exercises around the world and led citizen coverage of fleet and Navy weeks in various cities around the country. He graduated from the United States Naval War College, Defense Information School, and Direct Commission Officer School. In addition to the Washington Navy Yard,
I'm trying to figure out what other members of the opposition think.
combat camera at Naval Air Station, Joint Reserve Base, Mill Road, Pennsylvania, Navy
I'd be
Public
smiling.
Affairs Center in Louisville, Naval War College in Newport, Rhode Island, Navy Office of
Sam
Community
Robinson.
Outreach in Millington, Tennessee,
Sam
Joint
Robinson.
Public Affairs Support Element
Sam
in
Robinson.
Norfolk, Defense
You
Media
gotta
Agency at Fort Meade.
Sam Westhouse.
Commander Jeffy is currently serving at NATO, Allied Command Transportation Detachment in New York. He has received 3 Joint Service Commendation Medals, a Navy Marine Corps Commendation Medal, a Navy Marine Corps Achievement Medal, along with various other
Double advisory for 2 days. Well, say years ago.
Commander Jeffy is graduate from Johns Hopkins
It was
University,
advisory Wednesday and
Loyola
Thursday.
University, broadcasting school in Maryland. He's also a proud graduate of Lake. And if you do not know it already, he's a very, very proud father of one of our seniors today. So I introduce you to Commander John Jeffy.
Morning.
So,
It's great to be here today. When Coach Holly asked me to make a presentation about Veterans Day and the Gilman Upper School, I was a little bit
You're gonna sit up here with me.
see, Coach Holly didn't know about the
I don't want to sit next to those bullies.
Talking about Veterans Day today. Coach was a decorated
Is he still?
veteran
Is he still in the movie?
who became a naval officer
Who's the next speaker or Coach Holly?
Yeah, I'm still the speaker.
Yeah.
is he wearing a uniform?
You can wear a uniform after your discharge, depending on certain, depending on what the occasion is.
Which would definitely fit this one. So,
Probably.
if you're speaking on behalf of your experience in the Navy,
I think this would be a
Coach Holly is the epitome of being twice a citizen. What does that mean? Well, he was a citizen once when he raised his right hand and served in the United States Navy, and he raised his hand again when he served all of you for so many years at Gilman as a mentor, a teacher, athletic director, coach, and molder of young men. Why am I telling you all this? Well, since I was a little kid, my granddad, my father, they always tried to find a hero for me to look up to. And that's going to be a recurrent theme in my talk today. Coach Holly is such an individual. You know that Veterans Day is past. But the next time you pass the coach, you might want to pause for a moment and thank him for his service, both in the Navy and here at Gilman. And while you're at it, I think a huge congratulations to the owners and the coach and the Gilman football team for what they did on November 4th against Arch rival McDonough and what they did yesterday against Tower Hall. You know, Loyola guy, that's no small feat. So congratulations. How amazing was that? And with the cross-country victories that we just heard Charlie talking about, and the Gilman volleyball team winning the championship also on November 4th, this fall is looking pretty great here at Gilman School, so give yourselves a hand for that.
That's us.
Hey Tom, what's the answer to number 19?
I'd also like to say it's a thrill for me to be back in Gilman to speak to many familiar faces. Tom's pointing right there. It was my privilege to volunteer one morning in Australia, actually, when Sam was in first grade.
This is
We had
like
two more
literally 4 years old.
second grade. It's hard to believe that you guys have gone that far. I don't see Sam here. I'm guessing he's in here. He had to walk over from Bryn Mawr. There he is.
Where is Damascus still alive?
Is he still?
God.
Sweaty middle schoolers were filing out one after the other. And who do I see come walking? I think I saw Raleigh Beatty. Is Raleigh up there? Where are you, Raleigh? There you are. Raleigh Beatty's coming out with a bunch of friends. They're all laughing, having a good time, sweaty and all that. And I'm thinking, Raleigh does not want to be seen with this uncool old guy. So what am I going to do? How am I going to? I didn't have to think any further because Raleigh came right to me. Hey, Mr. Jeffy, how you doing? It's great to see you. That's what's so great about Gilman. That scenario has played itself out time and again for me with guys from the football team, lacrosse team, wrestling, that I got to know Mr. Brennan's woodshop class, and even guys that I coached a long time ago back in the Redmond. So you guys have a lot to be proud of. And I and my wife are very happy that Sam's been with us for the last 12 years here at Gilman Speaking. Like a fine young man, so thank you. Keep up the good work. So a few moments ago, I said that we all need heroes. When I was 5 years old, my parents took us to the 4th of July parade every year. And this one particular 4th of July was like the hottest day of the year. You're sitting there, you're sweating it out. People are worried about where they're going to get their next snowball or where they're going to spend the afternoon. And they're not really thinking about the parade. Well, on this particular day, a company of Marines stopped right in front of us. I'm 5 years old. I'm sitting there kind of in awe. This one guy is right in front of me. I can see the sweat beating down his eyebrow and under his collar. He's wearing his choker uniform, woolen uniform, standing there at 95-degree heat. And my dad, uncharacteristically, kind of piped up and he says, "Look at how straight he stands." Doesn't he? For 5 years old in 1972,
Is that Mr. Jeffy?
where everybody had long hair, was wearing tie-dye shirts and bell-bottoms with holes in them, this made an impression on this 5-year-old. Believe it or not, my dad did not encourage me to join the military. He hated his time in the Air Force. As I was finishing up my undergraduate degree, and so when I graduated college, I went into broadcasting and worked with my dad, but I always kind of had in the back of my mind, what if about the military? I didn't really know too much about the military, other than probably a lot of things you guys, you studied
Oh, come on.
battles, since 1776, watching a couple of really exciting movies in the early 80s. I started going to the Naval Academy football games with my dad back in the late 80s. So there's one particular day that stands out in my mind. We're sitting in the stadium, the midshipmen are filing in, they're all walking in their very square away rows and making their right angle turns and all this. And I looked at that off their white uniforms and I thought, if I can be a part of this in some small way, that would be a great thing. So after completing my MBA, I looked at the possibility of joining the Air National Guard and the Navy. And as Mr. Holly said, I had 2 uncles who were in the Navy during the war, and that's kind of what swayed me, I think, to go to the Navy. One was a Navy doctor who actually examined the pilot's eyes before they got cleared to fly. The other one was a pharmacist mate. So since I joined the Navy, as Mr. Holly said, in 1999, I've served proudly as a public affairs officer for the past nearly 20 years. So what's Veterans Day all about? Well, it's going to mean different things to different people. For some people, it might mean a good deal on the new flat-screen TV that the family's been wanting, or a good deal on the new car, or a day off of work, or a day to watch some cool war movies on TV. To me, Veterans Day is a day to be grateful for the heroes who have come before us, prepared to lay their life on the line for you and I, so that we can continue to live in the relative freedom that we have here in America. I ask you, I know Veterans Day is past, but I ask you to remember them in your thoughts and prayers. And if you know one like Coach Holly or somebody in your family, one of your relatives, or Mr. Buchanan in the middle school, stop to say thank you for helping America maintain a strong military which acts as a deterrent to war in peacetime and as a weapon in times of war, as a way of preserving our ideals and the way of life that we've come to know since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Now, before I move on, I wanted to mention, are there any other veterans in the audience? Because I think we'd all like to be able to say thank you. Coach, you and I might be the only ones, but if there's anybody else, please stand up, be recognized. And we'd like to thank you for your service. So, Coach, I'm going to ask you to stand up one more time and take a bow. Thanks again. Speaking of ideals, the Navy's core values, do they remind you of anything here at Gilman? Well, what are they? Honor, courage, and commitment. That sound a little bit familiar? Well, the Navy is not perfect, I'm here to tell you. We do not always adhere to these core values, but we always strive to try to meet them. And it's in striving to meet them that we try to be our best selves, to steal a Gilman philosophy. So do honor, courage, and commitment remind you of honor, integrity, respect, humility, excellence? I personally like the Gilman 5 better, but since I'm a sailor, 3 is easier to remember than 5, but we'll go there another day. I challenge all of you here today to focus on the first one. It's the first one in both sets of values, honor. It must be pretty important to put it first. And try to remember this. If you live an honorable life, the rest of those values almost take care of themselves. Let me repeat that. If you live an honorable life, the rest of the values almost take care of themselves. Does everybody in the Navy live with honor? No. But Big Navy has agreed that we must hold this as a goal for sailors to try to achieve. And if I live to be 95 years old, most of what I have worked for in my life will probably be gone. If I have lived a life with honor, then my life will have been worthwhile. Now, a few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to return to the site of the Civil War Battle of Gettysburg. What an awe-inspiring experience that is. I've been there many times. As a matter of fact, Coach Matthews worked it out so I could attend Gettysburg when the 6th grade, I think, took a field trip there many years ago. Had a great time there on that trip. This particular trip reminded me of the sacrifices that went on at Gettysburg, on those battlefields, and it brought life to the battlefields and the soldiers who fought in that war. And I've studied the battle, watched movies about it, watched documentaries about it, and if you ever want to know why Veterans Day is important, go to Gettysburg. We all kind of know what happened there, but I'm going to tell you that 50,000 casualties occurred in that 3-day battle. And if you want to get a sense for how much 50,000 is, think of Oriole Park at Camden Yards, full of people, and then every one of those people would have either died, been killed in combat, missing, or wounded. That's 50,000 people. These men faced grape shot. To give you an idea what that is, it's a canvas bag that's stuffed full of metal slugs or balls, and when it's fully assembled, it looks like a cluster of grapes. It was used in both land and naval warfare, and when fired at an oncoming enemy force, it literally tore the legs off of the individuals who were running into that fire. And I often ask myself, if my company commander standing behind me said, "Charge and take that hill," what would I do facing that terrible weapon? Public affairs officers usually don't have to worry about that. As we know, the Union prevailed at Gettysburg because they held the high ground and did not retreat. This was the major turning point in that Civil War, and it would not have occurred without the countless heroes who fought for the Stars and Stripes on that 3-day battle from July 1 to July 3, 1863. These heroes undoubtedly started out for a cause they held dear, whichever side they were on. But you can bet when the shooting started, all those guys probably wished they were anywhere else on earth than at that battle site. So why did they stay? Well, most veterans will tell you that they were proud that they fought, but they fought for the man on their right and the man on their left. The cause sort of gets obliterated in the fog of war. That's why they kept going. They also fought for their leaders. When the shooting stops, yes, veterans then get a chance to reflect a little bit and are proud that they laid their life on the line for their comrades, and then they can remember the cause. In the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address summed up why we all need to thank veterans for their service. So to give you a little bit of background, the battle at Gettysburg took place in July, and it was November when Lincoln gave his address, and he was standing on a cemetery where they had laid to rest all these Union soldiers who fought for the Stars and Stripes. He recalled the sacrifices and the ideals that they had set forth in the Declaration of Independence. And then he said, "We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. We cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note or long remember what we say here today, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who have fought here so nobly advanced." Remember, the Civil War still had to go on for another 2 years after this. "It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from those honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause, bless you, for which they here gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth." Gentlemen, right now we live in a troubled world. Bad things happen to good people every single day. Take heart. Troubles have been here long before we were gone, and they're going to be here long after we're passed away. You do not have to join the military to serve your country. Many of you have already given back to your community through your service hours that you do here for at Gilman or for your religious organization or sometimes even on your own. Service for a benevolent cause is always a good thing. Plus, it makes us feel good about ourselves, and it gives us a feeling that we have a stake in our community and our country. So however you decide to give back through service, it will undoubtedly enable you to leave the world a better place with your good work. You gentlemen are the future of our nation. Study great Americans like Abraham Lincoln, Booker T. Washington, Vice Admiral James Stockdale, and try to emulate their good qualities. Pattern your lives after the best traits of these individuals. Make it your mission to bring the Gilman Five to Washington, D.C. Now, wouldn't that be something? Stand up for what is right and study hard at Gilman and afterwards, because we need smart people leading our great nation into the future, where Americans will face new challenges that will need to be approached in thoughtful ways that focus on diplomacy, not on our military, which should always be used as only a last resort. Our nation's founders created our government to be led by civilians, not by a military dictatorship. We've seen a couple in what they've done in the world these days. When you see the military engaging in operations across the globe, for better or for worse, remember, they're only a tool that is carrying out the policy of the elected officials, the people that you and I vote into office. Now, as a rule, the American military acts with honor. So as I get older, I continue to try to find heroes who have served in the military, from familiar names like Halsey, Nimitz, Spruance. Armistead is a great Baltimore guy. If you have some time, I'm sure Mr. Hudson will be glad to fill you in on Armistead and his value to the city of Baltimore. And Chamberlain, to my personal heroes whom very few of you would know. Find your own heroes. Again, try to emulate what they did right and avoid what they did wrong. Together, Gilman students can continue to make this world a better place. And finally, I can tell you that there's a special bond that exists between veterans of all ages who have served in the military. The bond is especially palpable between veterans who have served in the same military branch, their same military service. I recently met a Navy nurse who's over 90 years old. She was a flight nurse during World War II, Lieutenant Maggie Hediger. And she and I have the same bond that Coach Holly and I share with other naval veterans. We did not serve in the same war, the same unit, the same theater, or even at the same time in history, but there's a common assumption to our shared values and a patriotism that runs through to our core. So if you're looking for a hero, I am not he. But allow me to quote a far more eloquent, heroic American. U.S. Army Major Dick Winters was the main character of Stephen Ambrose's book that later became an HBO miniseries, Band of Brothers. The book and the miniseries is based on the World War II experiences of Easy Company and the 101st Airborne Division. These were the guys that landed behind enemy lines the morning of D-Day, June 6, 1944. Major Winters recalled a letter that one of his troops had sent to him long after the war had ended. The veteran soldier said, "I cherish the memories of a question that my grandson asked me the other day." He said, "Grandpa, were you a hero in the war?" Grandpa said, "No, but I served in the company of heroes." You are our future. Stand tall, live honorably, and make us proud.